Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 84 days away from its official release by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as creator George Lucas. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, what's really exciting about Episode 9 is that we do know that this film, at the end of the day, is going to be a revelation film, answering many of the burning questions from The Force Awakens, while at the same exact time creating brand new questions at the very beginning of this movie and answering those at the very end of the film. Now, on top of all of this, we do know that the driving force for the hype of this movie obviously is the return of Palpatine, and exactly how Luke Skywalker's role is going to be utilized in Episode 9 in the forms of flashbacks and his Force Ghost sequences. Now, on top of all of this, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the big plans by Disney, Lucasfilm, JJ, and George for the character of Luke, what's really intriguing about this, as well as, rather unfortunate for the character of Luke Skywalker, this is where things begin to get very intriguing for Episode 9. Now, specifically, what's really interesting about all of this is that it's described that one of the sequences that were filmed during the month of September of 2018 last year involved the sequence where Mark Hamill was heavily involved on set as the character of Luke Skywalker, where it said that Mark Hamill had a role before the rewrites of the film as Luke, where it said that there was a scene that was shot where Luke Skywalker would introduce his best student to a young Ben Solo. It said that the scene would have served as a moment in which fans would be able to see Luke Skywalker's true apprentice before bringing in his nephew Ben Solo. The scene was ultimately scrapped for another sequence featuring Luke Skywalker that would involve himself and Leia on a foresty world in the very beginning of the movie, where Mark Hamill was de-aged to be far younger. However, the original opening of the film was said to include Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy, with his apprentice by his side getting introduced to Ben Solo, where it said that Luke's apprentice would be introduced in the beginning of the film, since the character would be explored in other parts of the movie and in future books and novels, as well as the novelization. Now, it's described that originally the scene had Mark Hamill in his older years, however without a beard, wearing his ceremonial robes, where Adam Driver was also said to have changed his appearance slightly to appear some years younger. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, what's unfortunate about this is that this would have been, I think, a better opening to The Rise of Skywalker, since it really is all about the Skywalker bloodline. I'm still happy with what they decided for this movie between Luke and Leia, but at the same exact time, the Jedi Academy opening sequence would have been very much, a stunning moment for the audience to see on the big screen between, of course, Luke, Ben Solo, and Luke Skywalker's best Jedi apprentice. But we do know that there are going to be other scenes featuring Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy. Just this one in particular was ultimately scrapped and was said to be the best of the bunch that are going to be introduced in Episode 9. So Luke Skywalker's apprentice, we would have actually been able to see this character on the big screen, by the way. We have been talking about Luke's apprentice. We actually went over some of the leaks a couple of weeks ago about Luke's apprentice having some, references here and there in the movie, as well as in the upcoming novelization of The Rise of Skywalker. So you could really see what they're trying to do. They're trying to introduce the time jump, the big time gap, if you will, in between episodes 6 and 7, where we would be learning more about Luke Skywalker's past life. And that's exactly what they're doing also with the Luke and Leia scene that's now part of the finalized version of the film. But this one in particular that was ultimately scrapped, I think would have been perfect for at least maybe a scene that takes place just before or after the Luke and Leia scene, where we do get to see Luke Skywalker introducing Ben Solo, his own nephew, to his best Jedi apprentice, of course, who we don't really know who he is specifically. We went over some of the code names of the character here and there, but we do know that Episode 9 is going to be a movie that's going to explore Luke Skywalker's past, as well as different elements of Jedi, Sith, and Force lore that's going to be introduced in this movie. Now, what's really great about Episode 9 as well is that we do know that Mark Hamill was able to improvise a lot of his dialogue in this movie, both in flashbacks and both in Force Ghost form. So the character of Luke in this film, I would say, should feel more authentic to how he was used in the original trilogy, since not only did George Lucas direct and write many of the Luke scenes for this movie, in case you guys did not know, but Disney and Lucasfilm also allowed Mark Hamill to come up with his own lines of dialogue for the movie, since Mark Hamill knows the character best alongside with George Lucas. So you can really see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the character of Luke a little bit more appealing to the audience. You know, a true character, if you will, to the original trilogy. That's the only thing with The Last Jedi, is that I really feel that the character of Luke was so separated with how we saw him in episodes, 4, 5, and 6, and how we saw him in those movies, and then you look at him in episode 8. It just, I don't know, guys, in my point of view at least, it just felt like a totally different Luke Skywalker. So what's really exciting about this as well, though, is that they are evolving the Star Wars franchise. They're trying to do something very special with these flashbacks. But at the same exact time, this would have been a great opportunity if they didn't scrap out the footage of Mark Hamill as Luke, introducing his best apprentice to Ben Solo. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.